I'm very spoiled. All right, morning everybody. And I did turn.
Record.
I hit record.
Record.
Thank you.
Record.
I remembered. Joshu sees through the old woman. This is case 10 in the book of Equanimity and case 31. Why is my bookmark on the wrong page? No, it's a different bookmark. Okay. 3 bookmarks. What did I do? Case 31 in the Gateless Gate. So we talked about this, the same koan. The commentary in the Gateless Gate is much more detailed. Probably because I went back and listened to my recording of it, and because I talked about Yamada, I used Yamada Roshi's commentary as well as Eiken Roshi's, and Eiken Roshi was much more detailed. But the point is the same. Koan is the same. So preface to the assembly. There is grasping and releasing. A wooden pole accompanies the body, able to kill or vivify. The scale's handle is held in hand. Dust, toil, demons, and heretics are utterly disposed of with a finger. The great earth, mountains, and rivers all become playthings. Tell me, what state of mind is this? Main case. Attention. There was an old woman on the road to Great Mountain, or Taizan. Sometimes a monk would ask which way it was to Taizan, and she would reply, straight ahead. The monk would proceed a little, and the old woman would say, a fine priest going on like that again. The monk related this to Joshu, and Joshu said, wait, I'll examine her for you. So Joshu went and also asked the same question, and the old woman gave the same answer. The next day, Joshu ascended the high seat and said, for your sakes, I've seen that old woman through and through. Appreciatory verse. He's gotten old, become the essence, doesn't transmit in error. Old Buddha Joshu succeeded Nansen. By a design on its shell, the withered turtle lost his life. Even the steeds, chariot, and wind chaser are encumbered by halter and bridle. Grandma Zen, seen through and through, spoke to people, it's not worth, or told to people, it's not worth a cent. So a little bit of context. Taizan, this particular mountain is very famous. It's a reference to the Wutai Mountains of China, where a lot of Buddhists go today, up to today. There's a Buddhist part. It's on the path of the Buddhist pilgrimage, because these mountains, allegedly, is where the Bodhisattva Manjushri resides. Now, Manjushri is not a real person. It's an archetype, but these are very famous mountains, and there are 5 peaks to this mountain. So it stands to reason that someone living at the base of this mountain, this was a shopkeeper, snacks and tea, and she sold at the base of the mountain. Knowing that most of the people walking past her place are probably Buddhists or Zen practitioners. And so she's engaging in Dharma combat and seeing how the monks respond. So this particular monk, sounds like he was a little offended by her comment. Fine priest going on like that again. And there was probably, in Eiken Roshi's commentary, he described it as, how did he describe her tone? A little bit of a snarky tone with as she was chiding the monk. But I think what just wasn't recognized is that this woman too was an enlightened being and was testing the monk. Do you know what you're doing? Do you know where you are? Do you know who you are? So That's the essence of the question. So if you're going to the Wutai Mountains, you're going someplace where you think you're going to find enlightenment. So that's the test. And there are several references to this going straight ahead through 10,000 grasses. So proceeding straight ahead through 10,000 grasses, or 10,000, the grasses were considered hindrances or barriers that going straight through them or cutting through them to get to that place where you recognize your enlightenment, because there's no place to go to get enlightenment. Manjushri is not on a mountaintop. And what are you, what is this, where are you going on like this? Again, what do you think you're doing? What are you going to get? Going somewhere to get something. When you've got it, right where you stand. No place to go, nothing to do. Just recognize that it's already there. It's already with you as you are going. So no matter where you are and where you are going, you already have it. Even if you didn't have it, we all had to do this striving in order to get to this practice. If we hadn't thought that we would get something out of this, well, we wouldn't come to practice. So the striving is a necessary part of practice. And so it takes that striving to recognize that there is no striving to be made, to be done, that you had it all the time. It's really the story of the Wizard of Oz. These four people, are, traveling down the yellow brick road to find what they already have. And it takes the Oz being exposed for the fake that he is, for them to realize that all these people have been praying to this almighty Oz all this time, and he's just a regular human being behind a great big machine.
It makes a lot of noise.
It makes a lot of noise, yeah. So, in some of the Oz movies, he gives them symbols of what they have, the heart and the courage and what was the other one? What did the scarecrow one?
Brain.
Brain. And Dorothy just wanted to go home. So, but she had the magic ruby slippers. So, yeah, you're asking this old woman who knew who you were and what you were about, how to find enlightenment. And so she's telling you, go straight ahead. But that straight ahead isn't to any place, isn't to any destination. It's just be where you are, be what you are, where you are. Your truth is right where you stand. And if you're looking for it someplace else, you'll never find it there. What may happen is you may get to that someplace else and realize, oh, I already have it. Here it is. So it's hard to know whether, because that's a question for me, is Joshu's monastery was huge. I mean, he was one of the most famous, popular teachers in the Tang Dynasty, Nansen student, and there are several koans that feature Joshu that come down to us today. So I don't know if this woman didn't recognize him or just stayed her course with her teaching, because that's really what she was doing. When Joshu himself, descends the mountain and asks her the same question. So I think the part of the story I'm making up, there's no evidence of this, is that she knew very well who he was. And she knew very well that he was there to test her. So this was Dharma combat between Joshu and the woman. How do I get to Taizan? And she answers the same way she did with everybody else. Didn't treat him any differently, or with any other expectations. No deference given to him. Go straight ahead. And Joshu probably smiled and said, "Okay, she is." And so he goes back to this. And you should always be careful. If a teacher or if anyone tells you they're going to do something for you, it's a huge red flag, because no one can do this practice for you. And they will always, in some way, lead you back to discover it for yourself. So Joshu goes back and says, from the high seat, I've seen through the old woman through and through. So it must have been, I'm imagining that this one particular monk was probably not the only monk who had noticed this old woman and may have been offended by what she said about them going on like that again. Joshu just said, no, this is what she's teaching. And and several teachers are known for their particular method of teaching. Rinzai is known for his shout. Gute is known for his single finger. Maizumi Roshi is known for ending every single one of his talks with, really appreciate your life. And he always said that. So, and that's what we often miss, is appreciating what we have already. We're always looking for it someplace else. Up these sacred mountains, or at this sacred temple, or doing these sacred practices. But it's already there in everything and everywhere. So there is no separation in this practice at all. Hard to recognize and hard to apply. So worth the effort to do whatever it is each of us does or did to get to that place where we no longer make those separations. And that's really, if Zen were said to have a goal, that's really what it is that we no longer, each of us individually, no longer separate in any way, anything from anyone from anyone else, or anything from anything else, but recognize that oneness shows up in an infinite variety of ways. But it's still one. It's still oneness. And that oneness is not, despite the fact that there are certainly aspects of oneness we would like not to be there, it's there. And it's teaching us. And those are some of the most important teachers that need to be paid attention to. And that needs to be taken care of, because that's our job. That's the vow. Is to take care of what is right there in front of us. What's there? And most of the time what's there is ourselves. That's the part we miss, is we think it's out there. It's all right here. No separation. And I remember hearing the story about the Wutai Mountains before I started formal practice, and I thought, oh yeah, another place I need to go. I haven't made it there yet. They're probably quite beautiful. I have no idea, but there are temples on these mountains, and hermitages. The hermits will build huts up there and live there for a time after doing formal practice. So they're still considered sacred, and there's still some remnants of Zen practice. Zen has pretty much died out in China as a formal practice, but you can still find pockets of it, here and there. I have to wonder what's going to happen, because the Dalai Lama is not getting any younger, and China is probably not going to recognize whoever his successor is, since they've taken over Tibet.
Can you say something?
I know something about that. The Dalai Lama actually came out and made a statement that his successor, the true successor, would not be in Tibet or from Tibet.
Oh, he said that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thereby, any successor that they choose in Tibet is not the true successor.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, I heard China was trying to,
They're already trying to dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah.
Can you say something about the last phrase? For your sakes, I've seen that old woman through and through.
Yeah. The most important part of this koan is the seeing through. So what did, and it's a question, what did Joshu see? And more importantly, what do you see as Joshu? Because that's the part of the koan that you put yourself into in order to respond to this koan. You have to be, you have to put yourself as these the players in this cosplay, as the priest who walked up and asked for directions and got directions, as the priest who went to Joshu, as Joshu hearing about this woman, as Joshu going to test this woman, Joshu getting the answer from this woman, and Joshu seeing through and through. What does that look like for you when you see through and through? When you understand, not cognitively, but definitely from an experiential level, what a person is about. It could be anybody, because everybody is a teacher. Everybody is serving the purpose. Everyone has a certain way of being and a certain way of teaching. And when we are no longer deciding to be offended by them, what can we learn? So certainly what you're seeing with this particular woman is she has this one teaching, and this is what she teaches with everyone who comes by, every priest who comes by. I don't know whether or not if just a regular person walked by and asked for directions, would she answer that person differently? That information is not in this koan. I don't know. If she only answering priests, because priests stood out, because priests always wore dressed a certain way, so they're recognizable. And those are the only clothes that a priest would have, so there's no hiding. So she knew the Joshu. If she didn't know Joshu himself, she knew that Joshu was a priest, because he would have shown up. And he probably, and they probably, I'm guessing this, that in China is very egalitarian. Basically from the sense of the Confucian ethic that they had at that time. So Joshu probably did not dress any differently than his other monks. So he wouldn't have stood out like wearing a purple robe or something, as opposed to their brown ones. Probably just looked like a regular priest. So if indeed Joshu has this opportunity to really look at what is going on with this woman, what is he seeing? And he's not, triggered by her comment of, is that there goes yet another fine priest. What does he see? And so that is really, there's no way to know, because he does not explain in any sort of didactic terms what he saw, only that he recognized what she was doing. I've seen through this woman through and through, and seeing through in Zen is that mind-to-mind transmission. So what he's seeing is, this is an enlightened being, but all beings are enlightened. So he's seeing that enlightened aspect of this woman in action, and seeing how she's operating. That's the seeing through, and that's all he's recognizing. I mean, there was nothing else there, other than this woman being a Dharma teacher in her own way. But all people are Dharma teachers in their own way. So seeing that through and through is really about seeing himself through and through, and recognizing who she is and what she's doing, is recognizing that within yourself. So she had a way of teaching, Joshu had his way of teaching, all of them contributing to the Buddha Dharma and Sangha in their own particular way. So there was this letting, I think this was really more a message for the monks: knock off being offended by this and see what there is to learn from anybody who's there. And interesting that most of the women that come up in these koans are old and nameless. And being older is an honor, because they've had an opportunity to gain experience, and so they're revered from that aspect. So there's respect for the old. It's not a derogatory term. Unlike America, if you're past the age of 27, it's time to bring out the Botox. So there was definitely a respect for those who had the opportunity to age, because not everyone did. The lifespan was not as long.
To me, it's like I read. There have been a couple different translations, I think, of that catching phrase that she uses.
Yeah, it's different in Galen's
Yeah,
case.
there's another old. There goes that old monk again. Going carrying on like that. So Sean, at the break, it's one of those ambiguous phrases that I don't know. Nobody. It's like up to interpretation. What does that mean? I was telling someone said, so and so just really screwed the pooch on that one. I was like, I don't understand what that means. Carrying on like that.
Yeah.
Who knows what that means? I mean, it's like. But the point of it is, to me, and what Joshu is seeing through is that it doesn't have to mean anything, and it means whatever you think it means, or it means nothing at all. And her point was go straight ahead, which we've heard before. It's just straight ahead. So that's what I kind of got out of this.
Yeah, and that's all there is. I mean, there's not. But despite the fact that it's simple in its story, it's still difficult for people to recognize within themselves. It takes the work. It takes doing the work of Zazen to really see yourself as the monk, see yourself as the woman, see yourself as Joshu, and see yourself as the mountain, because the mountain is where we all are. So there's and see yourself as what does it mean? What meaning are you attributing to go straight ahead, first of all, and then her little snark afterward. A fine priest going on like that again. Or a fine priest going on like that again. Or change the intonation to anything you want. That sentence can change meaning, no matter depending on how you say it or the meaning behind it. I have to imagine that Joshu just smiled, and said, "This is her teaching, because she's right. This practice is about not letting anything get in your way, not letting anything stop you, and just continuing the practice, being the practice, no matter where you are and what you're doing." Now, I have to wonder if indeed if a priest had stopped and responded or recognized, as he's asking the question, which way to Taizan, and she would say straight ahead, I'm there. What if they had responded that way? What would she have done? If they had recognized that she was the teacher, she was the mountain, she was Manchushu. And instead of treating her just as a gas station attendant that you would just ask directions from, what would her have? What was really with all of that is
She
supposition.
was probably just giving directions. I think Mount Taizan was just
Well, she's on the road. She's at the base of the mountain. So if you got to her shop, now it's just up the hill. So yeah, so it's just, but what was interesting is that what's even more interesting about this is that the monk seems to have thought enough about what she said, or was impressed enough by what she said, or maybe he was offended. Possibly he was offended by what she said. That Joshu actually took that opportunity. I can't imagine. The woman's probably been there for a long time. Several priests have probably come to the monastery, having passed this woman, asked for directions, and gotten the same response. This was the only monk that complained about it. And so he wants to do something to teach this monk. So this teaching is really for the monk, not about the woman at all.
We may be the only one complaining about it, but other monks might have got hooked on the comment.
They may have.
As they're walking up the hill.
Right. So, probably there was a conversation. He got up the hill and said, did I want to talk to you when you were down the hill? Oh yeah, she said go straight ahead, and made some comment. I wasn't paying attention. So, I'm sure. So thus the reason he's giving this answer from the high seat, when he's teaching to the entire group, and not just to this monk. So I'm sure, this monk may have started this whole thing. Yeah, what a bee! How could she say that about me? Going on like that. What did she mean? Well, that's just said. You didn't know what she meant, so you're all pissed off about something that you don't know what she meant. And so who knows? The word had spread. Now everyone else is like, oh yeah, I was pissed off too, but I didn't say anything. You said something, so he was the only one who actually said something.
Thank you
for complaining to Joshu about it. She'll go set her straight. But the woman set him straight. Treated him the exact same way she did any other monk that would have asked them the same directions. And so he saw her. He saw what she was and what she was doing. And said that I've seen her. I've seen that old woman through and through. So yeah. The appreciatory verse is different in this. So he's gotten old. This is talking about Joshu. He's gotten old. Joshu was old when he started teaching because he was with Nansen until he was 60. Nansen told him to wait another 20 years before he started teaching. So he didn't start teaching till he was 80 and lived to like 110 or something like that. So he had a long life. It's probably all that zazen and green tea.
Going straight ahead.
Yeah, going straight ahead. But he was quite successful. So he's gotten old. The appreciatory verse reads, he's gotten old, become the essence, doesn't transmit in error. And Joshu was known as being, his answer to, does a dog have good nature? Move. He didn't waste time with explanations. This is for you to figure out, so go do your job. He was very clear. It doesn't transmit in error. Old Buddha Joshu succeeded Nansen by design. And Joshu was the one who also, in the last koan, put his shoes on top of his head and walked out when Nansen told him about the cat. Same guy. By design, on its shell, the withered turtle lost his life. I didn't look that up. I don't remember what that reference is. Even the steeds, chariot and wind chaser, are encumbered by halter and bridle. This is from an old Chinese tale about horses. Grandma Zen, that's the old woman, seen through and through, told to people it's not worth a cent. So, was it in this commentary or in? If you don't understand, it's worth gold. If you do understand, if you don't understand, it's gold. If you don't understand, it's manure. That's in here somewhere. Meaning that people want to make this into something precious. It's like, oh, this is deep. So it becomes this focus for people to try to make it into something, but it's really nothing there.
The next level.
And that's the gift of this, is that it really was just a direct teaching. Go straight ahead. Do what you need to do. Take care of what's right in front of you. So if you don't understand and you're trying to make this into some grand and glorious teaching, it becomes something that you're grasping for. Whereas she's just telling you the way to get enlightenment. Do it directly. Direct experience. Go straight ahead. Then it's manure. Then it's and manure is fertilizer for useful things like food. Unlike gold, beautiful though it is. You can't. Yeah. Well, they actually make matcha tea with gold leaf in it. Why? It's nice looking in the bowl because when you whisk it, the gold, sparkles.
So back in the day, was manure also bullshit?
Yeah. Same thing. Yeah. Well, not so much because bullshit, has a more negative connotation now than I think it did then. Whereas, manure was considered, low. It was kind of a low grade thing, not like gold, which is considered precious. So,
but a useful fertilizer.
But useful, but you couldn't, you can't buy the farm with manure. You have to buy the farm with gold. But in order to run the farm, you need manure. So doesn't have. I don't think it had the same caustic connotation that it has now. Because anything that's bullshit is something that's just, you dismiss it. You don't want anything to do with it. Whereas you have use for manure, and so it has its value. And probably more valuable than gold in some ways. Oh, here it is. Master Basho said it in a capping phrase, the last phrase. If you don't understand, it's like gold. If you see through it, it's like manure. If you don't understand, you think it's something precious. Where's the road to ties on? But if you see through it, it's like manure, although even manure has value. Question?
She's
Yeah.
telling the monk something he already knows.
He should, but the monk didn't recognize it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But who knows? I don't know. This may be, maybe this monk hadn't started practice. We don't know anything about the monk, or her, for that matter, other than what she said and what he asked. Someone who hasn't started practice and they're just going to the monastery for the first time may not have that realization, and would be likely to respond to some snarky comment by complaining about it. So, Joshu's basic instructions to that is, I've seen through and through. It's now your job to see through and through. So that's so these are, there's several wonderful little gems with this. And the response to this koan is about seeing through and through all the aspects from every position. So it's worth the effort, because this is considered a much more difficult koan. Somebody, I think it was in the Yamada Roshi, one of the masters said that it took him 7 or 8 years to really realize this koan. So it takes time to penetrate into what is being taught here. So an important koan, which is why it's in both books. When it shows up a couple of times, somebody didn't get it the first time. Yeah.
And also, people say shit to us all the time about, whatever. And it's like, well, how do we deal with that? Do we, ponder it? Do we sort of accept it? Do we, if the person doesn't know us, how useful is it? Yeah. So
That's a battery issue.
it seems to me it was also about, whatever that comment means. It's coming from someone that doesn't know him, in the sense that she's not, she's just answering a question. She's not giving him some sort of critique of his persona that he should necessarily absorb. And that same thing with people that say stuff to us. It's like, okay. Joe Quebec is the example of, you were sitting in a rowboat in the middle of the lake, glorious day, you're relaxing, your eyes are kind of barely open, and out of the corner of your eye you see a boat coming straight at you. And, you expect the boat to turn around and stop or something. And the boat just keeps coming, and eventually strikes you. And how angry you would be that this boat, the whole lake, and they have to pick your boat to crash into. And then you look up and you see there's no one in the boat. And how that changes your perspective of what has happened, And then she ends the story by saying they're all boats.
Interesting. Yeah. Wonderful perspective to have. All right. Oh, someone in the chat. Oh, Tyler. He said thank you. Okay.
I'm tired of waiting.
I know. Yeah. All right. Anything, Kirk? No? Okay. Questions, comments?
Keep going.
Yeah. Next one is, there's another very good one.
Are there bad koans?
Well, I mean, there are koans that are really, I would label them as simple. They're not direct. So they're hard to penetrate, which is number 11. So the simple ones, do I consider them less? No, they're just easier to understand and to get through. Most of those are in the Gateless Gate. When you get to the Book of Equanimity, they're a little bit tougher. The book of the Blue Cliff record, because it's Renzai. It's because Renzai was never easy about anything. Those koans are even more tougher. It's kind of the order that we go through it. Actually, we do Blue Cliff first, then Book of Equanimity, then the Transmission of the light lamp after that. So yeah, there is kind of a progression with them, but they're all good in that sense. They're all good for what they point out, and different people will have different experiences with different koans, because the ones where you get stuck are the ones that really point out your blind spots, and they're harder to penetrate because blind spots are unconscious, and trying to really get past your own biases, your own unconscious biases, is very difficult. But that's the job of the koan, and the job of each of us during this practice, is to surface all that stuff that needs to be worked on.
So you said that someone had done a breakdown of all the koans and where they're found in multiple sources.
Yeah.
Can we get that from you so we can follow along when they're in multiple
Yeah.
documents?
Yeah, I put it on a spreadsheet, because the order, and also I was trying to figure out how to sort that spreadsheet because it was a PDF file that I had to convert, and it didn't convert well, and so let me fix it.
Yeah.
Then I will share it with you.
So is the next one, the one's 2 signatures, is that
Yeah.
anywhere else?
I don't know. I haven't looked yet. I don't think it is. I think it's only in the Book of Equanimity. But I'll check, because I have to check with all of them. I don't remember. The one thing that was good with tension, if you had done the koan before, you didn't do it again. So even though if they were in the other books, I only studied them once, which was very kind of him, considering the number of koans. There was a lot.